Good afternoon, race fans. I'm Dobbs Davis from SEAHORSE magazine, here to comment and give some race analysis on this second edition of the Aegean 600. We start off with looking at our tracker map, and as you can see, there's been even amazing progress, tremendous progress since this time yesterday. And certainly for those that tuned in last year, it's twice as fast as the race last year, and so it's very exciting. The lead story, of course, is the 78-foot Nigel Aarons catamaran Allegra, who is on almost final approach to the finish line. One thing to note technically is we changed the YB tracker system to update every 10 minutes. So the tracks are a little bit more true than they were shown yesterday. There's some corner cutting that happens when you look at the graphics, but it's certainly a lot better. And with every 10 minutes, of course, we're getting better accuracy and better predictions on what's happening, particularly here with Allegra. So they are going 15.9 knots currently, and the distance to the finish is only 20 miles. Now, is the wind going to lighten up between where they are now and the finish line, which is over here at the start line off of this point under the Temple of Poseidon? We don't really know, of course. The Windy app shows for this time period, actually we could maybe advance a little bit if we wanted to be a little bit more accurate. Let's just go to 1800. That's in about half an hour in local time. The Meltemi is blowing pretty well out here. Flags are just starting to actually decrease in their waving here in the marina, but it's certainly enough for a catamaran of that size to get around this island and head to the finish. I would say out here it's probably about 12 knots, 12, 15. It might accelerate a bit here in the channel between this island and the point. But it's looking really good for a daylight pre-sunset finish for Allegra, the 78-foot Nigel Aarons catamaran. So everybody here is excited about that. For sure, a new course record, certainly one that is pretty impressive. And we'll work out the averages when we get an actual finish time. But everybody's excited about this boat coming in. Then a big gap. Our next boat on the race course toward the finish is Rafale. If you remember from yesterday, they were doing quite well among the monohulls and in the fleet in general. Now, one thing I learned with a little more research is this isn't like Elliott designed TP52. No, this boat has a canning keel, which explains a lot. It really goes a lot faster and therefore rates faster, and that explains how they're ahead of some of these other boats that we would expect to be faster because they're larger. But the canning keel is such an amazing feature. It really does help that team push more sail area, have more power, particularly in these moderate to breezy conditions. So, in fact, I worked up a little chart here for those that want to get wonkish about this. This is looking at the time-on-time all-purpose ratings in ORC for a few of the boats that are at the fast end of this class. And what I did, this is a clever scratch sheet. It's actually available online if you go to the ORC website. You can download the certificate data from each boat's certificates. In fact, you don't actually have to download. It's put in a file that's done online. So it's kind of a neat tool. Anyway, for every 10 minutes of elapsed time, 30 minutes, 60 minutes, this is 6 hours, 12 hours, 24 hours. And then what's about the current elapsed time, which is 3,090 minutes. And with this chart, we can see relative to the fastest rated boat what the time allowance is over that length of time sailed. These are time-on-time ratings in this column here. And for each of these boats, you can click this button and see what the relative corrected time would be to defeat one of your rivals in corrected time. Now, Leaps and Bounds is actually the fastest rated boat, both in ORC and IRC. So they actually owe time to Rafale. So Rafale, being out in front like they are, is really doing well, outperforming the rating. Now, if we look at Leaps and Bounds and where they are, okay, so they're shown as being here. So they're trailing, they are trailing Rafale by how much? Let's see, these guys are going 10 knots. Rafale is going faster at 11.3. Now, remember the wind angles from the Meltemi are just forward of the beam, so this is going to be quite a fast point of sail. Let's see, distance to the finish, 133.2 miles. These guys have 119, so they're, what, 12 miles ahead, 14 miles ahead of Leaps and Bounds, and probably barely within visual distance. But that shows what these guys in Leaps and Bounds have to make up. I mean, it's not just that, but it's more, because under corrected time, they owe at this stage, that's not much though, is it? 5 minutes and 37 seconds. So they're actually quite closely rated, right? So in an hour of sailing, Rafale is owed by Leaps and Bounds only 7 seconds. I mean, virtually nothing. So these boats are kind of racing boat for boat. Now, 5 minutes in time is not a lot, especially after a couple of days of sailing. So really, this is quite a horse race going on between these two. And then if you look at the time allowances that are owed the other slower boats in this class, you know, they start to stack up. So with Hagar 5, that's an hour and 3 minutes at this stage in the race is what they're owed. The YB tracker tool actually does, I think they're doing this math correctly. I haven't double checked it, but when you scroll out and look at the leaderboard and then choose a class, they should be using that same corrected time tool to determine who's in the lead and by how much. So there are some assumptions made. What they do, for example, is look at the distance left to go to the finish and use the current rate of speed to divide into that to determine, where is it? Yeah, to determine how much time is left, and at the current rate of speed, how much distance is left, then how much time is left based on the current speed. So this is how they get these leaderboard results. That's again, making the assumption of the current rate of speed all the way to the finish over a known distance that's determined by the GPS. So you got to take these a little bit with a grain of salt, but what we know now from looking at the handicap ratings is that these two are very close in rating and are almost racing boat for boat. So this is a possible exciting match going on here. Let's see, corrected elapse, that's a bit of an oxymoron with that term, but now that I've explained it, hopefully this helps reveal where these figures come from. Now, let's look at everybody else and what they have. I mean, the rest of the fleet has gotten themselves through the lee of Carpathos last night. There were a few boats that were parked up in here. There were a few boats that were parked up, a few boats that were parked up also in here behind Rhodos. But they all seem to be moving now, so that's good news. This boat, Callisti, is a mini transat boat, so really small, 6.5 meters. They can get going for their size in the right conditions, but we'll see them probably trail ending a lot of this fleet simply because of their size. At 5.9 knots, they're going to have a long time to go. But the good news is there's plenty of wind. throughout the course area. In fact, if we go back to windy, we can see right now some strong brown and yellow coloring here, and our scale, which is down here at the bottom of the page, shows that this is, almost 30 knots of wind. I mean, if you believe the windy, some of these areas are quite brisk. And as a fleet has to go up through these islands, they'll be going upwind in these conditions. The good news is that it will be probably flat water in a lot of these areas. The islands are kind of blocking a long fetch for the waves, but they'll have a really exciting ride when they get up and around and make that final cut across the course, where they're going to be beam reaching and jib reaching in strong breeze and big waves, and that'll be quite an exciting time. Now, for most of these boats and where they are, they'll be going up in here behind Kos tonight, and probably making their way up through the rest of the night, and then probably tomorrow early in the morning, this group here we'll see up here and then making their final approach. So this is going to be a good, fast race for everyone. Let's see. Other news is we've had a couple of dropouts. We had these guys here on Machismo. We're not actually quite sure what the nature of their problem is, but they look like they're parked and at anchor doing something. The other one was the trimaran. We will look over here. Yeah, Akron. They retired. That was the big Orma 60 tri. They had an issue with broken mainsail, and that happened somewhere over in this part of the course. So they have actually probably turned their tracker off. I don't see it here in the course. But they elected to drop out of the race. They really couldn't do it with a broken main, and are on their way back to Olympic Marina. So that's our report for today. Again, we're really excited about Allegra and that team coming in and doing a fantastic job of getting around the race course quickly. So look on the social media and our website when we have some photos of them and possibly even videos of them coming across the finish. We're hoping that it all happens in daylight, and it'll be a spectacular result for that team, and we're really excited that we're going to see them soon. Other resources to think about is the website. Again, has a lot of photos and videos and great media resources. Those that are in the social channels, to stay tuned in there. We've been getting some great material from the teams actually out there. So thanks for tuning in today. I'm Dobbs Davis from SEAHORSE Magazine, and tune in this time tomorrow for another race analysis of day 3 of the Aegean 600.